Compound meter. It's crazy. I love it. I love it. Now, this kind of meter you won't hear very often in a lot of modern music. Where you hear this a lot and where I grew to love it is if you listen to old Spanish music from Spain. In Spain and in France as well, compound meter used to be the big deal. Now, in everything we've done before, things were split in groups of two, a whole note split into two half notes. But we also can split things into groups of three. And we do that by having a dotted quarter note. Usually it's a dotted quarter note, could be a dotted eighth note. Usually it's a dotted quarter note, gets the beat. Now a dotted quarter note is split up into not two eighth notes, but three eighth notes. So if I wanted to have one beat per measure, I would write 3/8 because that's really one dotted quarter note, but I get my 3/8 notes. But as I'm playing 3/8 notes in here, I am not counting 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I'm counting 1, 1, 1, 1. And I'm splitting things up in groups of three. So a lot of times one of the most common you'll see is called 6/8. That 6 is telling me they have 6/8 notes, but the eighth notes are grouped in groups of three. If I take 6 and divide it up into groups of three, I can fit two groups of three. So I have two dotted quarter notes in here. So my 6/8 is really dotted quarter notes. And where it starts working is instead of hearing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I'm hearing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, strong, weak, weak, strong, weak, weak. I'm hearing this subdivided, divided, and ba-da-da, 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 ba-da-da. And it makes for a different feel than what you would hear in other music where it's grouping it in twos. Because now in compound meter, we group things in three. So here, I might have 9/8. And what that's really telling me is not that there's 9/8 notes in here, which there are. There are 9/8 notes. But if you notice, instead of being grouped of two like we usually see, they're in groups of three. So I have three strong beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's really three dotted quarter notes. And then my last one that you'll see a lot once you get into compound meters is 12/8, which is really 1, 2, 3, 4 dotted quarter notes that would be each split into eighth notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, da, 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 da. A lot of times we'll use triplet or even anda, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet to help us find that beat. Whenever you hear me play my Spanish romance song, I'm using a 12/8 pattern because there's 4 beats in each measure, but I'm splitting the beats into groups of 3 instead of groups of 4. It makes a really cool, interesting pattern. And this is compound meter. We could also do, and since I'm here into the advanced stuff anyway, I'm going to do some crazy stuff. So another way to do compound meter is to make it complex. Right now we've been doing groups of 2, 3, or 4, but what if we mixed a group of 2 and a group of 3? Because a group of 4 is just 2 groups of 2. Everything really comes down to 2 or 3. So I could have 5, 4. And there's an amazing song out there called Take 5 that is in 5/4. And in 5/4, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 quarter notes in there, but I don't count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to either count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where I have two strong beats. One is in a group of 2, and one is in a group of 3. Or my count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have a group of 3 and a group of 2. You could even mix it up if you really wanted to get crazy, and that's how you would write the music to give you that feel, because this is really not a group of 5, it's a group of 2 and a group of 3. Another one that we might see fairly often when we're getting into this weird stuff is 7/8. So it's 7/8 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But we're going to group them in different patterns. We might go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Which you'll hear on really cool songs like Blue Rondo a la Turk. Or you might hear 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, pop. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, pop. Which is kind of a fun thing too. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, pop. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, pop. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, pop. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, pop. Or we might hear all sorts of different patterns. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. We could do that. Or we could do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now you understand why these are called compound meters. They're very complicated, aren't they? This is where you can start getting all sorts of really interesting ways of just taking the very rhythms of it, the very meter, and by mixing up the meter and stuff, you can make these songs sound very completely different, even if there's not a whole lot of notes, which you can also put in, which makes it just sound, oh, it's so much going on. But compound meter is more of a advanced thing, but just like in a video game, you can play it on easy mode, but after a while that gets boring, so you make it harder and harder until you're at the hardest mode, and you do it because you like the challenge. Whenever musicians are listening to this stuff and writing this stuff, a lot of times they're making it because it is hard. It's difficult. And so they like the challenge. They like, what if I do this? What if I do this? It's to make it more interesting so that we're not always bored. So simple meters of 2, 3, and 4 are great, but sometimes compound and complex meters, they can be a lot of fun too. Try listening to some odd music sometimes, some weird music that you don't normally listen to. Listen to some jazz or some old Spanish music from Spain, like classical guitar music, which is, I love classical guitar music. Listen to music from different times, from different places, and you'll start hearing that music is grouped in different ways from different times and different places. And a lot of the way that the music sounds comes from the way that they use meter. Meter is really cool.